Morning, everyone. Today we're going to start the next Photoshop assignment, which has to do with masking and creating composite images, which just basically means combining a couple images together using a couple different techniques. The main technique is using layer masks. And layer masks are part of the non-destructive editing techniques in Photoshop. And basically that means trying to maintain the integrity of the original images by using a layer mask. It helps you or allows you to remove parts of an image without completely erasing it permanently. So it's just a temporary setting, or not so much a setting, but a temporary fix to an image. So you probably have seen some images that are two images that look like they're one's fading into the other. And that's pretty much what we're going to be doing with this assignment. I have a couple different ones for you to work on. The technique for each of them is the same. It's just the images that you're going to be using are, each of them are a little bit different. Okay. So on the canvas shell, under the Photoshop module, you will see the basic Photoshop masking assignment is now active or published. And I have the instructions on here, and I'm just going to scroll down briefly so you can see the images that you're going to be creating. And I just realized I need to fix that. I'll come back and fix that before I upload this video. When you watch the video, this will be fixed. So you'll see that there's an image of an apple core inside of a bottle, a woman's face with leaves on it, a strawberry that has a mouth on it, a light bulb, and then this one here is an image of sand dunes and a lion and some clouds, I think that I've provided for you. And again, this will be fixed when you view the Canvas assignment page. Okay. So these are the images that we're going to be creating. Again, the steps and the techniques are the same for all 5 of them. It's just using the same steps, and then how you position the different elements inside of the other images. Okay, so I'm going to walk through the steps on a couple of these, and then you can just review it for the other ones. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to, actually, let me come back up here to the top, sorry. So layer masks are non-destructive, which means you can go back and re-edit the mask later without losing the pixels they hide. So if you were working on an image and trying to create one of these composite images, and you were using the eraser tool, and you say you were done for the day with that assignment or that project, you close the file, and then you go back to open it again, all of those pixels or everything that you erased is gone permanently. The only way to get all of that back in is to bring the image back into the file or into the document. But by using a layer mask, it temporarily hides part of an image, and then you can go back later on and reveal parts of that image if you weren't happy with the way it looked. So it's not a permanent change to your original image. It's just a temporary way to hide or remove parts of an image. So masking layers is useful for combining multiple photos into a single image, or for removing a person or an object from a photo. You can edit layer mask to add or subtract from the masked region, which I just said. You're using the paintbrush to paint in and remove, or paint out or paint back in parts of the image, depending on what you want to achieve with the image. And upon completion of this assignment, you will know how to transfer, move an image into another image, scale an image, and create a layer mask. Please review the attached PDFs for more instructions and information on the assignment. You will be creating the samples below. Once you have completed the 5 compositions, please upload the finished files to the assignment page. When you save the files, be sure to include your last name in the file name. Okay, so here's the instructions. And it's basically the same steps that I have on Canvas. And these are 3 of the sample images. And then you see the other sample images on the Canvas page. Okay, so this PDF has the same instructions that I have in Canvas. There's also this file here that talks about what layer masks are and how to create them and what to do with them. And then you're saving your image as a Photoshop document, a native document, because I need to see the layers. I want to see the layers and how you worked on the masking part. Okay, so you'll upload them as Photoshop documents. Okay, so this again is the same. I'll be explaining everything as I'm working, but these 2 PDFs here give you a little bit more information about the technique. Okay, so then you're going to download the layer mask images. It's a zip file. That has all of the images that we're going to be using. And then you're also going to need to download the light bulb. And the seedling. Okay, so I'm downloading those images. Okay, then I needed to expand that zip file, which I just did. And then in that folder, you're going to see 4 folders. So one for the apple and the bottle, which I need to share that so you can see that. So you will see in that zip folder, you will see 4 folders, the apple and the bottle that has 2 images, the leaf lady that has 4 images, the strawberry mouth, and then the desert. Okay. With the leaf lady, I've provided you with several images of leaves, but you only have to use one of them. You don't have to use all 3 images of the leaves, just one of them. The strawberry mouth, I've provided you with a set of eyes. You don't have to use those eyes either. They're just another additional image if you want to experiment with that. And then the desert, again, I provided you with 3 different images, and you're going to create a composite using that. Okay, however you want to arrange those on your own at that point. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and switch over to Photoshop. And I'm going to open up okay, so I'm going to start with the apple. I'm going to open up both of these images. So I'm going to hold down my shift key to select both of them. And then click open. Okay, so you'll see when you open up in Photoshop, when you open up 2 images together, you will see 2 tabs here, letting you know which images you have open. And in this case, we're going to use the bottle as our base image. And then we're going to bring in the apple into this layer. And the reason I had you go through Photoshop to open up the files is if you double click on them from your computer, it will open up in an image preview application and not Photoshop. So JPEGs usually don't open up directly into Photoshop. You have to tell Photoshop that you want to open those files. Okay. So if you're trying to double click on the files on your desktop or wherever you've saved the images and it opens up in an image preview program, that's why you need to go into Photoshop and then file open to open up the images. Okay. So again, we're going to use the image of the bottle as our base image. And then we're going to bring in the apple into the bottle. So there's two ways to do it. One I think is a little bit easier than the other. The second one is a couple more steps. You may find that the one that has a couple more steps is a little bit easier but not as quick, or compared to the first way that I'm going to show you. Sorry. So I'm going to activate the apple layer. So I clicked on the tab up here for the apple. So that's how you switch between files here in Photoshop, by clicking on where the name of the file is. So I've activated the apple, and you can tell the difference in the tab, how the text is brighter, and this is kind of a little bit grayed out here in the back. So I have the apple active. I'm going to hold down my mouse. So I held down my mouse button, and then I'm going to drag up to where it says the bottle tab, and you'll see that it becomes active when I do that. So I'm touching on the apple or the bottle tab, and you see it switched over. Then I'm going to come down here with my mouse button pressed down completely still, and then I'm going to let go, and then I'm going to have the apple in the bottle. Okay. And then using the move tool, which I already have selected, I can move the image around on the page or on the canvas. So that's how you move things around in Photoshop using that move tool. You'll see over here in the layers panel that I have two layers. I have the background layer, which is the bottle, and then I have layer 1, which is the apple. At the bottom of your layers panel, you will see a square with a circle in the middle of it. That's your layer mask. And if you hover over anything at the bottom of your layers, it will bring up a little tooltip telling you what each of those icons are. Okay. So if you click on that circle, the square with the circle, it adds an additional thumbnail to your layers, to that layer. Let me increase the size of this so we can see that a little bit better. Okay. So you can see on the layers panel, I have the thumbnail for the actual image, and then I have the thumbnail for the layer mask. And you can tell which one is active by the little bracket or the extra box that's around the square for the thumbnail. So right now the thumbnail layer mask thumbnail is active. You can see the little square around there. Then I'm going to switch over. I'm going to go over and select my paintbrush. And I'm going to make sure that my foreground and background color are black and white. And to do that, I'm going to press D on the keyboard. So that's going to be for default. And then you want black to be your foreground color. So I'm going to press X until I see that that switches. So X toggles between the foreground and background color. And D will make the background or change the background and foreground color to black and white. So I'm going to make sure again that black is my foreground color. I'm going to select my brush, and I may need to increase the size of my brush using the bracket keys. And then I'm just going to come and paint over the areas of this image of the apple that I don't want anymore. And in this case, it is the white background around the apple. Okay. And if I get too much, take too much away, say I'm going a little bit too much into the apple core. So I went a little bit too much here into the apple core. To take it away, I'm going to press my X key on the keyboard, and I'm going to paint part of that apple back in. There's too much white here, so I'm going to press X and take that part out. And then you can see part of the apple is extending from the bottle, so I'm just going to remove that as well. Okay. Okay, so I want to make it seem like the apple is inside the bottle. Right now, it looks like it's just on top of it. To do that, I'm going to change my blending mode. So right here where it says normal, I'm going to click on that, and I'm just going to cycle through the different blending modes. Some of them will look better than others. It just depends on the feeling or the goal you're trying to achieve with this particular assignment. And in this case, you want the highlights of the bottle, so this area right here, to show through, or make it, again, like I said, that the apple is actually inside the bottle, not just on top of it. So again, these blending modes will do different things depending on the images. Some of them, as you can see, don't work very well, and they don't achieve the effect that you're going for in this case. Okay. So that's how you change the blending mode on a layer. And we did that too with the colorized black and white line art, the black and white photos, and then the line art as well. And you also did it, no, you didn't do it on the damaged photos. So we're revisiting the blending modes, which are right here. Okay. So that is for the apple. Okay. So I'm going to, so that was the one way to get the apple into the bottle, is using the move tool and moving it from one image to the other. So I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to show you the other technique of moving an image, one image from one canvas to the next, to another. Okay. So in this case, we're going to use a couple more steps. So I'm going to go back over and activate the apple. I'm going to go up to the select menu, And I'm going to do select all, or Command or Control A on your keyboard. And then I'm going to go to the edit menu, copy. So edit, copy. So Command C or Control C. I'm going to switch over to the bottle. So I'm going to click on the bottle tab to activate that. And then I'm going to go to edit, paste. And there is the image pasted into or brought into the canvas with the bottle. Okay. And I still need to go back to my move tool and adjust the position of the apple. And remember, on the other one that I just showed you, the apple was a little too wide for the actual bottle, but I want to maintain as much of the apple as possible in that bottle. So I'm going to resize this image. So I'm going to go under the edit menu, free transform, and it's going to give you this bounding box around the edge with some squares. And if you drag or move your mouse to one of the corners, you will see a arrow that goes up and down. And you're just going to drag one of those corners down. Okay. And then you just kind of judge based on the width of the image of the bottle, how wide you want the apple to be, or how much smaller you want the apple to be. And then I'm going to position it using the move tool. And then I'm going to press my return or enter key, or I can click on the check mark up here at the top, right here, to apply this transformation. So I made the image smaller. And then I'm going to come over to the layers panel, and I'm going to add a layer mask. So it's the icon with the square and the circle. Select my paintbrush. Make sure that my my foreground and background colors are black and white. So I'm going to press D on the keyboard. And then I'm going to press X so that black is the foreground color. And then I'm going to take my paintbrush. I'm going to decrease the size of my brush a little bit using the bracket keys. And go around and remove the white background around the apple core. Okay. All right, then I'm going to go onto my layers panel, go to my blending mode. And again, you have multiply, you can try multiply. Any of these you can try, but not all of them are going to look right because you're trying to achieve the look of the apple core being inside the bottle. And you can still see the highlights from the bottle on top of the apple. And then again, I have a little bit extra here that I want to remove. Okay. And then maybe switch back over to your move tool and adjust that apple a little bit where you want it to be. Okay. So those are the basic steps of moving the image from one document to the other. Okay, then when you're done with this first one, you're going to save it. And then you're going to put your last name in the file name. And then save it wherever you're saving your files. And then move on to the next one. Okay. So I'm going to pause this video for just a second, and then I will resume it in a few minutes. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and resume this lecture by opening up 2 more images and repeating those same steps. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the image of the woman with the leaves, show you how to do that. So I'm going to go back over to Photoshop. I'm going to go to File, Open. I'm going to navigate to the next folder, which is the Leaf Lady. I'm going to open up the image of the woman first. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open up the woman. And then I'm going to go to File, Open again. And I'm going to look at the different leaf images of leaves that I have provided for you. And you only have to use one of them. So I don't know. I think I'm going to use this one here, the more colorful one. Okay, so I select that file. I'm going to click Open. And then I'm going to use the same 2 techniques to move the image from one document to the other. Let me go ahead and close these. Okay, so I'm going to use the image of the woman as my base image, and then I need to move over the leaves to this image. So I'm going to do activate the leaves. And then I'm going to do the steps of selecting it, copy and pasting it into the other document. Okay, so I'm going to go to the select menu, select all, go under the edit menu, copy, activate the woman, image of the woman by clicking on the tab, and then go to edit, paste, and the image of the leaves will be pasted or brought into the image of the woman. And then in this case, I'm going to go ahead and adjust the blending mode first so that I can see the entire image of the woman. And then I can determine what parts of the image I need to remove, because the leaves are completely covering her face. So I'm going to come up here to the blending modes. And then I'm just going to cycle through the blending modes until I find one that I like the way it looks. Okay. And again, until you find the one that you want, the way it sorry, find one that you like the way it looks, as you cycle through these. Okay, so I think I'm going to use this one here. Okay. Then I'm going to add my layer mask. So the square with the circle in it. And then I'm going to take my brush and start painting out the parts of the leaves that I don't want. Okay. And then come over here on this side. Just continue painting out part of the leaves that I don't want. Okay. And you can see I'm getting a little too far out, too far into her face. So I'm just going to switch my foreground color to white. So I'm pressing X on the keyboard. And then just paint back in the parts of the leaves that I want to keep on the image. And then let me zoom in a little bit here. And then I make my brush smaller using the bracket keys. And go in a little bit tighter on her face. And because, there it goes, okay. Because the background is so light and her face doesn't have a lot of shadows here on this side, it was a little hard for me to see that exactly. Okay. And then I'm want to go in and remove the leaves from her eyes. So I'm going to switch back to black. And then remove the leaves from her teeth. Okay. And then let me go cycle through the blending modes again, see if maybe there's something else I want to use. I think I'll change it to multiply. Okay, so that's the second one. The leaves, placing the leaves on her face. All right, so I'm going to do that again. Bring the image of the leaves into her face, into the picture of the woman. Okay, so I'm going to go to the leaves. I'm going to go to my move tool. So the first tool in the toolbox. I'm going to come here. Actually, I need to deselect this. So I need to get rid of those marching ants or that selection around there. So I'm going to go to the select menu and deselect first. And I'm going to hold down my mouse on my keyboard or my mouse. I have a laptop, but you're going to hold down your mouse and you're going to drag up, holding the mouse the entire time, all the way up to the tab of the woman, the file name tab of the woman. When that becomes activated and she comes forward, you're going to drag into her face and you still have the mouse held down, then let go. And there's your image of the leaves now in the image of the woman. Now I know that step that way is probably a little bit more difficult because you can't always get the tab to switch over to bring in your image. And you have to hold down the mouse button the entire time that you're doing it. Okay, so if the first way that I showed you by copying and pasting works better for you, that's fine. If you're comfortable doing it this way that I just showed you, that's fine. as long as you get the other image into the image of the woman. So I'm going to add my layer mask. I'm going to change my blending mode again so I can see the effect that I want before I start removing the extra leaves. I'll do overlay. Okay, then I have my layer mask. I'm going to go get my brush, increase the size of the brush a little bit, and then paint out the leaves. And in this case, with this particular blending mode that I used, it's a little harder to see what I need to paint out because it's kind of faded. But as you paint over those areas that you want to get rid of, you'll see that the white background is coming back in a little bit more. And then again, decrease the size of your brush using your bracket keys to come in and remove the leaves from her eyes and from her mouth. Okay. All right, then when you're done with that one, you're going to save that one. So save as, and then your last name, and then woman. Okay, that, and then you'll start on the next one. Okay, so I'm going to break this video up into 2 parts so that it's not so long when you're watching it. So this concludes the first section of the layer mask lecture. I will be right back with the second version or the second part of this lecture in a few minutes.